Welcome back for another video, and welcome as well to 25 new managers joining the series this week. So it's the most stacked video I've ever made. Their combined rank histories now among the experts is 1 FPL champion, 5 top 100 finishes, 49 top 1k finishes, and 409 finishes in the top 10k in the world. Big thanks to the 25 joining the series this week, and also the existing experts for the valuable data they provide every week. If you're not already, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out. Big video lined up today, another one to come later today as well. So, starting off with the manager highlight. There's been lots of movement in the Experts League. Alex Williams has taken the top spot with a ridiculous score of 147 points. He moves up to 3.7k in the world. It's a stacked league. There's 10 in the top 10k now, and there's 29 in the top 50k already. Did you manage to beat the average expert score, which was 125 points? The global average was 87 for comparison. So, moving straight on to transfer activity, and 24% are rolling this week, 46% making 1 transfer, 24% making 2 transfers, and there's 6% that are making 3. I mean, at the back of our collective heads is obviously blank Gameweek 29, with Villa, Palace, Liverpool and Newcastle blanking. If you've not identified that as your planned free hit week, then obviously transfers need to be spent with extra caution to ensure that you can field a good enough team and at least 11 players in Gameweek 29. Those of us not using a chip that week are going to be up against it, and getting a green arrow is going to be really tough that particular week, given there will be chips active. However, Liverpool and Aston Villa do double next game week, so is there a case to be made for buying into either team even though they're blank in Game Week 29? Or let's safely assume that all the experts are already tripled up in Liverpool, and you probably are as well, but are they buying Villa players? Here's the breakdown of the most bought and sold players for Double Gameweek 25. So number 1 is actually Emery, the most bought, 27% are buying him. Unsurprisingly, every expert that used the assistant manager on Moyes last week has switched into Emery this week. Last game week there was a mix of experts. Some of them couldn't satisfyingly sell one of their 3 Liverpool players to free up a space for Slot, and went with Moyes for that reason, while others made the sacrifice to bring Slot in. If you activated yours on Moyes, then switching to Emery is probably the logical play since he's got the double game week. The most bought actual player is Cliver, 17% are buying him. 11 goals, 4 assists, 15 returns for only 5.9 mil. Although I think about 6 of those 11 goals were penalties. But Bournemouth are a team to target with transfers right now. They've got amazing long-term fixtures all the way until April. And if you've still got your wildcard, then that's going to be a really nice opportunity to consider activating it right before Double Gameweek 33. We'll have a look at the double in 33 and the predicted fixtures in a minute. Elsewhere, 6% are buying Semenyo, 10% Dango, all amazing budget picks, and you could double up. And then in defence, there's also Kirkes, Howson and Zabani that are being transferred in. So, in terms of Double Gameweek 25, 10% are buying Watkins, 8% buying Rodgers, and a brave 3% are actually selling Isak for Watkins this week. On the one hand, Watkins does have a double game week and he's got better fixtures for the next few weeks, but on the other hand, Isak's fixture proof really, and he's in the form of his life over the last few months. Are any of you considering Isak to Watkins this week? Gordon's the most sold player then, and then it's actually Hall after that. And of course Gordon's not been as consistent as Hall this season, and while Hall has been consistent, the clean sheet potential is just not there in the same way for the next few weeks, so they do make sense to drop if you've got them. Lots to think about. So for the first time this season, let's do a state of the play segment, where we're going to break down the upcoming double game weeks and blank game weeks nice and simple. So of course we've got double game week 25 first. Aston Villa and Liverpool play twice. Villa play against Ipswich home and then Liverpool home. Liverpool play Wolves home and then Villa away. If you've got no chips active right now and you've still got your triple captain, then don't overthink it. Triple captain Salah this week. Game week 29, there's 4 teams expected to blank: Aston Villa, Crystal Palace, Liverpool and Newcastle. Liverpool and Newcastle are in the League Cup final, which is played during Game week 29, so that's why they've got a blank. It clashes, plus the opponents they would have faced them. Next is Game week 33, and the amount of teams that double here will depend on FA Cup results. I've made a graphic here which is based on the market odds, and this could play out differently of course, but it's very helpful to look at right now, just to build an idea of which players will be targeting and which teams could double. Game week 33 is a solid bench boost opportunity. Aston Villa, Bournemouth, Crystal Palace, Man City, Man United and Newcastle expected to double based on the market odds. So doubling up on Bournemouth, Palace, City United, Newcastle, City all looks pretty straightforward for that week, and that would be 10 players of a double game week, or 11 if you can throw in someone like Rodgers, if you went with 2 per team on average anyway. That game week, Arsenal have got Ipswich away, Liverpool have got Leicester away, And even though it's a single game week, they're a really reliable team. So in a nutshell, they could fill up your remaining spots, like Gabriel, Saka, Trent and Salah, etc. Saka will be back by then. After that, it's blank game week 34. Now you might have been rubbing your hands together with that potential double game week 33, but in game week 34, straight afterwards, all those teams would blank immediately afterwards, based on the market odds anyway. You could add Brentford, Nottingham Forest here as well, with teams that have a good chance of blanking. So one approach is to free hit that week. And that brings us all the way back to right now actually, because many experts are avoiding overcommitting to game week 29 to ensure that they can basically avoid using a chip that week. Now of course, you could use free transfers in that blank game week instead, if you're able to roll a few. But it's the biggest blank game week of the season, and it does in fairness mean that using a free hit could mean it's got low potential, but it's a nice way to attack double game week 33 and then use a chip straight afterwards to get through without having to worry about it. Arsenal do have a chance of blanking the 34, Liverpool definitely won't, and they play home to Palace and Spurs respectively. So if you were trebled up on them for double game week 33, you could still have 9 doublers in the double game week 33, and then a minimum of 6 players that will play in game week 34. And if you've got 4 free transfers for example, then you're up to 10 players with no chip used for the blank. Anyway, later after that, it's double game week 36, which could see Arsenal, Bournemouth, Palace, Ipswich, Man City and Newcastle double. Another reason to consider saving the free hit, because you could use it then and attack the double instead. That all said, it's not a bad strategy to free hit in game week 29 coming up next, if your team looks well short of 11 players then. It does give you the flexibility to buy a Villa player or 2 right now and not have to worry about game week 29. So let's move on, and if this was a helpful segment, do hit subscribe. We're going to talk more about blanks and doubles as the season progresses. So looking at the chip overview, this week 80% have got the assistant manager active, and there are 3 triple captains active as well. So let's get a couple of perspectives on the assistant manager chip from a couple of top managers. This will help guide those of you that have got it active. So Guido Batista first, he had his active on Moyes last week, and his team is Raya, Trent, Collins, Robinson, Salah and Bumo, Palmer, Rodgers, Isak, Wood and Gakpo. Here's what he had to say about his team and transfer plans. Emery will be coming in for Moyes in game week 25. I was on triple Liverpool last week, so Moyes was the obvious choice in my car. Enough money was freed up to do this by downgrading Gordon to Rodgers in game week 24. This meant I could afford any manager in case Spurs and Fulham doubled. Rodgers made sense as a hedge, so I knew I was either getting a player who doubled or I'd be able to afford any manager that could possibly double. As I will have already had 2 bonus games with the assistant manager chip, the plan for game week 26 is to go safer, which will probably mean Arteta, who's got West Ham at home. There is a small possibility that I stick with Emery if the game against Chelsea at home is a table bonus fixture, but that would be the result of them winning neither game in the double this week, which isn't ideal. In regards to blank game week 29, I'm hoping to get through it without using a chip. The team won't be optimal, but I'll be able to field 11, and I feel the free hit will be more useful in game week 34, as there will be teams who blank in that game week but double in game week 33 or 36. Bournemouth are the main team I'll be targeting with transfers in the lead up to blank game week 29, as they don't blank and they've got decent fixtures all the way to game week 33, where they're currently projected to be one of the doublers. Cliver and Kirkes, Rodgers and Trent or Hull, either before or in blank game week 29, will almost certainly be the 2 moves I make. The defender I keep out of the 2 will be staying on the bench from blank game week 29, along with Salah and Isak. Great stuff. And let's also hear a perspective from someone that went on a different strategy with the assistant manager on slot. Brian is 6.5k in the world. Here's what he had to say. I'm on pace for my best finish ever, and right now I've got the assistant manager chip active on slot, and I'm hoping for 20 points from the chip in double game week 25. After a disappointing double game week 24 that totaled just 15 points after Goodison's final Merseyside madness. Ahead of double game week 24, I'm in a position of strength compared to most of the FPL managers around me, who all use their moves to attack double game week 24. I've got 4 free transfers, and I'm weighing up a few potential moves. Option A is to practice patience and move Eze to Rodgers, and roll the other 3 transfers, which will give me slot manager and 3 doublers. Or option B is to go all in for a double game week bonanza and move João Pedro, Trent, Eze to Watkins, Konate and Rodgers, and roll the final transfer. That'd give me 5 doublers, but also future benching headaches, plus more blankers in game week 29 to plan for. Depending on how double game week 25 goes, I'll weigh up my risk appetite, so either punt on table bonus, or just play it safe with the assistant manager in game week 26. After seeing Moyes pull off the unthinkable, I may punt on table bonus, with a decent amount of points already in the bag from Liverpool. For my remaining chips, I'm planning to avoid free hit 29. I'll likely have to settle for Foden over Haaland, who's already going to be very popular in free hit 29. I'm hoping to wildcard in 31 or 32, bench boost in 33, free hit 34, and then triple captain double gameweek 36. Unfortunately, Liverpool won't double again, so although Salah at home against Southampton in gameweek 28 as a single game is an option, I'll likely save the chip for the end of the season, and hopefully Isak will be on the menu. Thanks for sending in, guys, best of luck. Moving on to captaincy, and it's a short and sweet one again. It's Salah 100% again. Actually, I've just remembered, one went with Trent captain last game. That's really unlucky. It was 99% Salah, and obviously Trent picked up that knock. But yeah, Trent was never keeping pace with that Salah haul. 29 points I think he got. But yeah, this week everyone's gone with Salah captain. So moving on to the experts team for Double Gameweek 25, and it's Pickford in net, it's Trent, Gabriel and Mykolenko in defence, Palmer and Bumo, Salah, Rodgers and Kluivert in midfield, Isak and Wood the duo up top. We've got the injured and Dye on the bench, along with Hall and Greaves. There's only 1% separating Dye and João Pedro in ownership, so we might see Dye drop out of the team next week. Certainly if he's ruled out injured for Game Week 25 after coming off early in the Merseyside derby. By the way, quite fittingly, that was the 120th and final Merseyside derby at Goodison Park between Everton and Liverpool, and both sides have won exactly 41 of those games, and the final one ending in a draw. So yeah, like many of our teams, there's a bit of a hangover here from the last double game week with Pickford in goal, Mykolenko starting. They're of course one of the 16 teams guaranteed to play in Game Week 29. They've got West Ham home that week, so they could come in handy still. Kluivert joins the team this week, and of course assistant managership's active on slot. That was a last minute call by the experts after Double Game Week 25 got announced just before the last deadline, leading to that rare opportunity to take advantage of consecutive double game weeks. If you've still got your chip, then just refer to the earlier segment in regards to when you could use it and when the double game weeks will be and which teams are expected to. Well played as well if you went triple captain Salah last game week. Let's finish up with some final thoughts and tips for Game Week 25. Here's what the experts had to say. Pietro is one of the experts joining the series this week. He came 32nd in the world last season, 6.2k the year before, and he said, I thought about doing Gordon to Bournemouth midfielder, but I've decided to roll because of a bench and headache. I'm glad I decided to triple captain Salah instead of the assistant manager, and I'm saving it for later, probably double game week 36. Rohan says, preparation for this week is all about balancing those aggressive points chasing thoughts with long-term planning. Time to focus on blank game week players if you're not planning to use your free hit. I'm not fully convinced of Villa assets and could see any one of the Bournemouth midfielders outscore Rodgers, who is 2 yellow cards from a 2-match suspension. But which one will it be? I might as well pick one with my eyes closed here. FPL Alternative says, note that my transfers are pending, depending on Watkins' fitness update. For me, Watkins, if fit, and Rodgers are the only viable Villa assets. I'm gutted that my Conser is likely out. Bournemouth have got fixtures to target, and they could be better investments than Villa. I would not advise transferring Isak out. CRT says, I feel like free transfers will be very valuable going forward to prepare for Game Week 29, so even though my team is not optimal, I will accept a small term loss to hopefully gain an advantage in the future. Jossie is thinking similarly and says, despite owning no Villa players going into this week, having only one free transfer and intending to play for Game Week 29 without a free hit, I'm planning to ignore Rodgers and move straight to a second Bournemouth midfielder. Thanks for watching, hit subscribe and like this video if it was helpful. It's a double upload today as well, another one to come later. See you soon for the next one.